Hi, friends. My name is Bailey Cook. I am the host of the Y Project podcast, and today we have a very special guest with us. So I'm going to turn the time over to her to introduce herself and to just tell us more about who she is.
My name is Peyton, now Trujillo. I just got married.
Yay.
I am 23 years old from South Carolina. I am a positive person. I try to be. And so I like positive colors. As you can see, I'm in this bright outfit.
I love it.
I love the color orange. My favorite animal is a sea turtle before, plastic straws, whatnot. Sorry, that might be controversial. But I love sea turtles, and I love mac and cheese. I guess those are some fun facts.
I love it. That's perfect intro. Peyton and I know each other from our missions. We served LDS missions together in the San Francisco area, and I knew her as Sister Robinson.
Yes.
So, which is crazy. That was such a long time ago. That was like 3 or 4 years ago now.
Yes.
So, that we served together. But
walking down the streets.
I know. It's so crazy. I looked back at some of our pictures before coming here today, and I was like, wow, we were in some ghetto areas together in the Bay Area, but it was a fun time. So, but congrats on your marriage. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
I'm super happy for you.
Thank you, Bailey.
So, well, today you were sharing a story about losing a loved one to suicide. Yes. And we talked about this on our missions, and you came to my mind when I was thinking of people to interview and talk about. And it was so crazy because we haven't talked in such a long time, and I'm so grateful that you're willing to be vulnerable today, and I know that your story is going to help so many people that have either gone through that or people that are struggling with suicide ideation. So thank you for being willing to open up and be vulnerable. But I would love to start with just your brother. Tell us about your brother, who he was. You can share kind of where you guys grew up and what your family dynamic was like. I'd like to hear about any of that.
So Tanner, my older brother, he is 4 years older than me. He's the second child. There's 6 kids, and so it was my older sister, then Tanner, then me, then 2 little sisters, and our little brother. And Tanner, he tall, blonde, blue-eyed boy. The characteristic I remember the most about Tanner is it's funny. He knew how to make people laugh. And he was really good at these voices, like accents, and so he was always like talking in these accents. We weren't terrible. We were close, but because he was 4 years older than me, the time of his death, he was a senior. I was a freshman in high school, and so we didn't have like a whole lot of common interests. We ran cross country together. And that was fun to be on the same cross country team, except for he was really slow and I was fast. And so there was always not tension, but also tension, like our parents are like, okay, come on, Tanner, be fast like Peyton. Tanner, he was pretty close with my older sister at times. They were only a year and a half apart, so they grew up together, and they experienced a lot of the same, parent relationship, parent teaching. What is that called? Parenting.
Yeah, parenting.
Similar just experiences growing up with the cousins, whatnot. We lived kind of all over. My older siblings were born in South Carolina, but then we moved to Idaho. Then we moved back to South Carolina. Then we moved back to Idaho. Then we moved back to South Carolina. So we've done a lot of back and forthing. Tanner, in those times of moving, the times we were living in South Carolina were really nice because he had my cousins, the boy cousins, and his cousins to play with. And so every time we lived in Idaho, it was really hard for him because he missed being with family. Tanner really liked to play video games. that is like a sore spot because I don't know, like I'm kind of actually bitter towards video games because of my brother, because I definitely think it affected him. But he played a lot of video games, and so it was I have a lot of fun memories playing video games with him, like Lego, Marvel games, or Lord of the Ring games at my uncle's house with him, or we played we would play night games when we were really little, and that was really fun. I have and my sister and I, we used to share a room, and it always took us forever to fall asleep. And our brother's room was right next to us, and I have this distinct memory of him running and just jumping on our beds and going babushka, and then running and jumping on my bed and running saying babushka, and so that's just like a fond memory.
Or what sort of dynamic did your brother bring into the family? Because I know him being the oldest, what type of older brother do you feel like he was to you guys?
Uh, he was a good older brother.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, you have your siblings. Siblings are gonna fight, and of course, there's gonna be tension, and of course, I remember us getting into kicking fights. Like we used to kick each other. Probably, not the best, but we used to kick each other when we were mad or arguing, and um, but I have a lot of memories. This one in particular, where I had this classmate who cheated, or who we were taking a spelling test, and she came up and like was looking at my answers. Well, then I go home and I tell my family this, and I told Tanner, and a couple days later, he confronted the girl. He was like, "Why were you cheating on my little sister? Like that was not cool. Why were you doing that?" And I was embarrassed, but now looking back, I'm very grateful that he stood up for me, and that was pretty bold, but he was sticking up for me, watching out for me, because that's what big brothers do.
Yeah.
And my two youngest siblings were really little. Um, when he passed away, my little sister was 6 and my little brother was 2. And so for those 6 years of the or little sister and little brother, I just remember he would babysit and look out for them, and um, just love them. It's been 9 years since he's passed, and that's the hardest thing about his passing is memories fade, and so it's hard to remember, like the details or the big moments, or like how we really acted. Um, my dad was really good at taking videos, and so we have a ton of family videos, and so it's really fun to go back and just like see how we did interact. But from my memory and what is coming to my mind at this moment, from like ages 12 to 14, I guess that was only 2 years. Wow. Um, when I was in Young Women's, and I interacted with him more. Like we went to youth conference, this big conference for teenagers to come unto Christ and learn of him. And I remember thinking Tanner left early because he was having a lot of like mental health issues, and I was really sad because I wanted my big brother to be there, but at the same time I was really grateful that I got to be there at the same time as my big brother. And so that was the only. And then I went to EFY. Him and I both came out here for EFY, and I remember seeing Tanner walking around BYU campus, and I'm like, "That's my big brother," and he was like the cool kid, which is really not like him, but he was like the cool kid, and I was like, "Wow, that's my big brother."
When you look back, what do you remember most about the time surrounding his death, and what was that experience like for you at such a young age?
So Tanner, context of what Tanner, how he came to take his life. For He struggled with depression and anxiety since he was 9 years old. My mom and my dad first started or my parents decided that he should see a counselor at 9 years old when he started first having, thoughts of self self doubt and like who he is. He's really profound thinking for a 9 year old, and he for years he never had good friends. A lot of people at church or people at school would leave him out, and so that would really affect his self-esteem, and really just it really that was like the biggest thing, because when you're little, that's all that matters, is fitting in and having friends when you're in these crucial developmental eras.
Yeah.
Is you want to have friends, and he never had that, and so that was a um
Huge catapult
huge catapult to self-doubt,
mm-hmm.
to all the negative feelings I can't think at this moment. But so we lived in Idaho during his middle school years, so ages like 10 to 13, I don't know. And I remember one day my mom was really sad because Tanner had cut himself on his forehead, and that was like the first time I was like, wow, I guess like that's pretty, something's wrong. I knew. Well, Tanner was also he was very sensitive. He was very sensitive to to my parents and to siblings and to people, to his emotions. He was very emotional, but at that time there wasn't this big emphasis on emotion, and that boys have to express themselves through emotion, and so sometimes relationships with family members, it really impacted him, and sometimes caused a lot of self-doubt and self-pity and anxiety and loneliness and depression. And so for 4 years we lived in Idaho, and it got pretty bad because he had no friends, and his depression and anxiety were worsening. So then we moved back to South Carolina to be with family, and we thought this was going to be really good. He was going to be with family, and he was going to be good. And so we moved back in 2013. And 2017, that's when he died. And so for those 4 years, not only 4 years, 2013 to 2017.
Yeah, that's 4 years.
I guess that's weird. That's crazy to think that it was only 4 years that we were living in South Carolina. But 4 years, the first 3 were really not good as well. He, again, wasn't as close with my cousins as my parents were hoping that that relationship would bring or spark. They weren't as close, and he was entering high school, and again he was experiencing the same things he experienced in Idaho, of friends leaving him out, of not having a friend group, not having that social support, which so often we want our confidence to come from outside, but it comes from inside, and he didn't have that. And so, well, his final year, which is weird to say, okay, for a year, his senior year, he got a girlfriend, and that was huge. He got a girlfriend, and he got a friend group, and this was huge because he never had this. He never had this friend group and girlfriend, and he was doing good, socially, whatnot, whatever you want to say. And so from the outside, it looks really good. Like, Tanner's doing good. He looks happy. He looks happy, but then he attempted suicide in March 2017, and that was like, wow, that was a wake up call, because he attempted suicide. I'm laughing because it's like
yeah,
it is a coping mechanism. He ended up going to like a psych hospital for a week. And that was really hard because he was there and he didn't want to be there, but we wanted him, like, we knew he needed to get help somehow.
Yeah.
And so I remember him being there, and my dad taking him books because he couldn't have his phone. He could only, really, there wasn't a whole lot to do. But he read Harry Potter. I remember that. Well, then he was doing good. He was doing really good for like the next 5, 6, 7 months. Like he was doing pretty good. Well, December hits, and um, my sister is leaving on a mission. My older sister, she's leaving on a mission to Bulgaria. Everyone's like really excited for her, an LDS mission, going to teach people about Jesus Christ. And um, it's she's leaving. She's supposed to leave December 13th to go on her mission. December 13th is also my mom's birthday, and so a lot's happening. And well, December 12th, the day before, um, he takes his life, and it was devastating, beyond devastating. So the raw emotions of the raw emotion, I have different emotions and now and emotions then. It's been almost 9 years, and so my emotions have definitely changed. But my emotions then, from what I remember and from what I feel, because just talking about it, I can still feel the heartache, and that really is the word. Heartache, heartbreaking, world shattering. I was in my immediate family, I was the last one to find out. Of like my whole family, of like my extended family and cousins, I was the second to last to find out. And I I'm just gonna share the story of the day because
Yeah,
I feel like the emotions, come as I share. My last memory of Tanner actually is I'm walking out of my math class, my least favorite teacher. But I'm walking out of my math class and I see my Tanner chasing his girlfriend down the hall laughing. And so I have that happy memory in my head and I hold on to it. And I'm so thankful for it that I have, you know, be, that 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 glimpse of happiness because a lot of some of my siblings don't have that. My family don't have that. But I have this memory of Tanner laughing, chasing his girlfriend down the hallway. And so Tanner got out of school. He only had like one class, and so he got out of school early, or it was like finals or something. And he went home, and I didn't get home till I played basketball during this time, and so I was supposed to go like 2 hours, drive 2 hours to this other town, and I wasn't supposed to get home till about midnight. But I didn't go because I was also in band. I was a band kid for a little bit, but not really. But I was a band kid, and I played the saxophone, and I had this Christmas concert, and so I had to practice for it because I I couldn't miss this concert. And so after school got out at 3, and this practice was till 5, and so halfway during the practice, my bishop's wife walks in the room and says, Peyton has to go. She has to go. There's been a family in front of the whole class. She says there's been a family emergency. She has to go. And so I remember my classmates saying, I hope everything's okay. And I pack up my saxophone and I put it on the shelf, and then I walk upstairs waiting for my bishop's wife. And she comes, and I'm, starting to, not panic, but I'm like, what's wrong? I want to know what's wrong. Well, we walk out the doors, and I see my brother's friend, one of his friends that's in his friend group. She gets a call, and she immediately starts screaming and crying. And as I see her, I'm like, I'm not gonna use her name, but the bishop's wife, I'm like, what's wrong? Tell me what's wrong. She didn't want to, or we're like walking, and I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she said, Peyton, Tanner killed himself. And I immediately fall down to the ground and start just, what's the word for crying? But like
sobbing,
sobbing
yeah.
hysterically. Sobbing hysterically.
Mm-hmm.
And we get in her car, and the ride home is 20 minutes. And so that ride home was horrible because all I'm saying is Tanner, like over and over and over again. I don't know if I'm saying that loud or in my head, and all I'm thinking is, how did he do it? Where did he do it? I'm coming up with all these, what's the word? Ideas,
So,
situations,
different scenarios
yeah, of what he did, who's there, why am I just finding out?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why? And so we finally arrive home. We don't even like make it to the driveway. We have like 20 acres, and so we have this big and family all around us, this big family compound basically. So we don't even, I like run out in the field, run inside, and I'm just screaming for my mom. I'm like, Mom, 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 where are you, Mom? I just remember finding my mom and just hugging her and just, again, resurfacing all those tears, bursting into tears. And then maybe like 20 minutes later, we're allowed to, I got home at 5. He passed away at, I think, this is like very specific, but like 12 or 1 between that. So it'd been a few hours. Mm-hmm. We go down to the basement, and he's lying on a stretcher, and they let me kiss his forehead, and he was cold, and it was my brother sitting there. And so going back to just the emotions and the feelings, and it was horrible. We didn't go because it was 2 weeks before Christmas break, so we didn't go back to school for those 2 weeks. But one of my teachers was so insistent on wanting me to take an exam, and I just could not understand her, how she could not understand, like, my brother, your student killed himself, and you're making his little sister come and take a test. And I was just, I did not like how the school handled it, because my brother died, and then 2 years later another kid took his life. And so they just did not handle it at all. And my little sister found, she was my little sister, and my 2 little cousins found my brother. And so these kids, the teachers, I don't think they knew how to handle it, because our school was new. It was pretty new. It was pretty small, and nothing like this had ever happened. And so no one was prepared. No one's ever prepared for suicide. But they did not handle it well. My peers around me, they did their best. I remember feeling kind of mad at the school and the people around, that they, like, I wasn't receiving the support, but also at the same time, I don't know what I could have received to really help me. Some of my friends were really helpful. My best friend, one of her cousins passed away horribly 2 months after Tanner did. And so her and I, we're still best friends now. We were really able to, comfort each other. I don't know if, most families are like this, but I think the night before Tanner's funeral, we had a big dance party, and like everyone, like both sides of the family were there. Like some of my mom's old friends were there from high school, who she hadn't seen in years. And we just had like this dance party, and we were decorating grandma and my grandma's hair and makeup. Like, it was crazy, but it was a light in the darkness. But also maybe we were just so we were in shock, literal shock.
Yeah.
So we were just trying to do what we knew how to do, which was a dance party and be crazy.
Losing someone to suicide is different in many ways than other types of loss. So, how did that experience affect you personally, and how do you feel like suicide loss affects families differently?
I think the biggest thing with suicide is our the if, the if questions.
Mm.
If only I would have done this. If only I would have told him
Mhm.
I loved him more. If only I would have, put him in counseling, or if only I wouldn't have taken, if only Tanner wouldn't have stopped taking this medication. If only, if only, if only, if only I
Mhm.
would have, been a better parent, been a better sibling. I think suicide is it's a dark, spontaneous death that no one ever is expecting, unless maybe you're expecting that. Maybe they are very suicidal, so maybe they're one day gonna kill
Mhm.
themselves. But at the same time, you're hopeful. You're hopeful that they're gonna be okay. You're hopeful that they're gonna live a happy, long life. And
Mhm.
so when when they're actually gone, and you get the phone call that they're gone, like my mom, it it's it's different from watching it's different from watching someone who has a sickness. But at the same time, my opinion has changed over time, because
Mhm.
I've learned a lot. But my freshman year of college, so this was 2021. He died 2017. I I did a year of counseling after he passed away.
Mhm.
I stopped because I felt like I was doing good, and I was doing good for a while. I feel like I was,
Yeah.
I had my family, and we really confided in each other, and actually our family became really close. Like, both sides became really close. But my freshman year of college, I came out to Idaho, went out to BYU, Idaho,
Mhm.
from South Carolina. So it was my first time, being away from home.
Mhm.
And I started getting all these, really sad feelings. It was also winter, freezing. I don't know
Yeah.
what's that called, seasonal depression.
Yeah.
Definitely probably experiencing that. I started getting all these really sad what if feelings of Tanner, and actually a lot of anger. Like, I was getting pretty mad.
Mhm.
Mad at different family members, mad at Tanner, just mad. And so I started seeing a counselor for grief, and my counselor recommended me to do group therapy, grief group
Mhm.
therapy. And I was like, okay, this could be a good opportunity. Well, then I um I started going, and I actually started not liking it at all, because everyone. Another side note is, to lose a brother is different to lose a mom, or to lose a dad, or to lose
Yeah.
a grandparent.
Mhm.
It's all different. Every type of death is so complex,
Yeah.
and so I don't want to undermine any death, but suicide, it if you haven't experienced it, you don't know what it's like,
Mhm.
because it's rock bottom. It's rock bottom death. Maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot, but it's pretty rock bottom. And so I'm in this group therapy session, and I did probably like 5 sessions, and I couldn't take it anymore, because no one had lost anyone to suicide, and no one had lost a brother. A few people had lost, maybe, like, a sister, or maybe a grandparent. And I don't want to undermine the other deaths, but, like, it
That
was
experience is just different.
the experience. It was
Yeah.
just, I cannot relate. No one could relate to me. I didn't feel like I was getting what I wanted out from this, because It was,
Mhm.
unless you really, maybe I should have probably gone to someone specializing in suicide, but I stopped going because it was just not what, it wasn't helping. It was making me more mad because
Yeah.
I was like, where are the people? The reason suicide is different is because it's something you wish so bad that you could have prevented. Because there's a lot of, ways that are preventable. If you're sick, if you're like, if you have a chronic illness, you can't stop it. But suicide, you feel so guilty because what if you could have stopped it? They
Yeah.
could still be here. The thing I've learned so much is that people are scared to talk about, one, people are scared to talk about death. I work in the hospital as a
Mhm.
CNA, and I meet so many people, but I meet a lot of people who are, their loved ones are maybe going on hospice. Maybe this is just me, but I love talking about Tanner because it allows me to talk about him. But I love sharing. I love sharing his story with people.
Mhm.
But I love sharing his story with people who have experienced suicide or who have, or who are, lost a family member to suicide, because one, I get so happy. I get so happy when I meet someone else who has experienced someone to suicide, because I'm not alone. They know is what's going on, what has
Mhm.
happened. They know the pain, they know the guilt, they know the every single emotion that goes with it. Two, a lot of people I who've lost loved ones to suicide are very hush hush about it. They feel awkward
Mm.
talking about it. They don't like talking about it. A lot of people feel embarrassed that they have a family member who's died
Mm.
to suicide. I've observed, I've learned, and so I like talking to people about suicide to, one, educate them, two, to let them know that it's not this hush hush. Like, people
Yeah.
need to know that people die by suicide, they kill themselves, but there's hope. There's hope for those who want to die. There's hope for those who have lost family members. There's hope in all things.
I love that you said that there's hope for everything,
Mhm.
right? Like, and I agree. So many people are hush hush about suicide. I lost a really good friend to suicide when I was 16. And even that experience is very different. From
Mhm.
a friend to a sibling,
Mhm.
so different, right?
Mhm.
I didn't live with him or see his every little day to day life with this friend, but as a sibling, you do see that. Like, you see the nitty gritty of everything with your sibling. You see their biggest flaws, their
Mhm.
bigness, their biggest weaknesses, but then you also see just like amazing things about them too. And so having just so many different experiences with suicide within that realm is just very different. But having hope after something horrendous like this has happened, whether, it's a sibling or a friend or whatever it is. I even think people that don't know people very well, it's very shocking to hear that someone died in your community from
Mhm.
suicide, right? And so leaning more into what brings hope from such a tragic situation, I'd love to ask, like, what helped you to begin healing and what helped you to continue to feel hope after having experienced such a tragic experience within your family?
I'm a religious person. I believe in Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is Jesus. Truly, Jesus. There's this big phrase in the the LDS church that families are forever. At my brother's funeral, we sang the song "Families Are Forever." It was horrible. I don't know why they had us do that, but it was horrible.
Yeah.
All of us cousins and siblings, we got up there in front of everyone, in front of so many people, and we sang "Families Are Forever." I have a
Mm-hmm.
family here on earth. They are so good to me. I want to be with them through all eternity. I don't know if those are the lyrics.
I think it's pretty close. I'm impressed. Close. Yeah.
And so that phrase, families are forever, is what got me day by day, because death is a day by day experience. You have to take it one day at a time, truly, one day at a time. And then with time, you take it 1 week at a time, and then 1 month at a time. And it's sad that that's how grief works, because you want them to be your main focus all the time because you love them and you miss them. But with that phrase, families are forever, it was like, okay, I'm gonna see Tanner again. He's not here physically, but he is on the other side watching over me. And I know families are forever because Jesus Christ lives. Has brought me hope and peace and joy, which is crazy to say, because I know there's so many people out there who don't, are not religious, or who don't believe that there can be hope and peace, but there can be. But again, it's so different for every individual, because I know from like my parents, my mom takes antidepressants two kinds every day, because the pain is so thick still, and it's been almost 9 years. And so it's so complex for everyone, but I know that she has been able to find joy still amongst the pain of losing her little boy. It took me, definitely, the first 2 years were the worst years. I remember thinking at year 5, that's when I was about to go on my mission. And why I wanted to serve a mission was I wanted people to know that they can find hope in Christ, that they'll see their loved one again. 2 months into my mission, 2 transfers, and we got this phone call that we needed to visit this lady because her son had just passed away. We get to the house, and her son had killed himself. Wow. And he was 17 years old. And I remember being so happy that I was there. I remember being so happy, devastated for this lady, but so happy that I was there. So this family wasn't of the same faith as I was. They never got baptized. But I was able to share with them my experience of Tanner, to allow them to find hope. I had my mom write this letter to her mom. She spoke Spanish, and so I translated it, but the mom, she read the letter, and she was just so grateful that she could feel this other mom, she could relate to this other mom of losing their little boys to this not horrible death, but horrible death.
Yeah. Well, it just sounds like to me, Peyton, like that connection is where we're all able to find this joy and happiness and understanding with one another. And thank you for sharing your testimony about Christ and sharing that. I think it's important for people to be able to like share their truth in that way, right? We're both of the same faith, so it's very easy for me to sit here and be like, yeah, I understand all this, right? But for those that aren't religious, like, I think you still give hope and so much light to them, because they are able to see that you found something for you that works. You found something for you that brings so much joy and light and happiness into their life, and that gives them hope that they can find that as well, whether or not it's the same religion, or I don't know, it can be anything, right? But even just talking to you, like, radiate light. Like, I've always, like, even on the mission, I was like, Peyton radiates light, or Sister Robinson radiates light. But like, you being able to connect with other people, like you said, these people didn't get baptized, they weren't of the same faith, but connect through something so devastating, that brings so much hope and understanding and empathy and love, and it creates this community where people are able to be vulnerable and connect with one another. And that's like what like my whole podcast is based on, is connection. That's what I'm noticing with every single story. And I've interviewed quite a bit of people now, and it all leads back to connection. And I think that that is so cool that all of your stories have one similar thing in common, and it's connection with others. So thank you so much for sharing that. This is so vulnerable. So I want you to know you're doing great and
Thank you.
sharing your story. um Another quick question that I wanted to ask while you were talking is, one, how has losing your brother changed the way you view mental health and suicide today? And two, is there anything that you wish people would have said or maybe not said to you, or done or not done, while you were in the thick of suicide? Because I think people from the outside get scared to do anything or say anything because they just don't know
what to say.
Yeah, because it feels so touchy, right? But now, like, looking back, is there any advice that you can give people to like help support others that maybe are in the thick of it and are going through it?
My views on mental health and specifically suicide, they've, I don't know, it's touchy. Recently I've really been thinking about it, actually, just the concept of mental health. And it's honestly really hard for me to, I would honest I've never had depression. I don't know what it feels like. And I was reading a book today where you can't you can't tell a depressed person, okay, you should do this, to be to feel happy.
Yeah.
But it's understanding that it requires energy to just continue, and to not give up. That's like my understanding of it. I haven't experienced depression. I've experienced anxiety, but not to the extent of wanting to not live anymore. And so it's honestly, I find it very challenging because at the hospital, we get a lot of patients that will come in for suicide who are attempting or who have attempted, but they didn't succeed. And some patients I'm able to, talk to, and I feel like I'm able to give them hope. But there's some people that are just so in the thick of it. I don't know how to help. Mental health is just so complex, and you want to help people, and you want to ask the right questions or say the right things. And every individual is so different because some people want to feel connected. I think that is a lot that has to do with mental health, is just feeling connected and feeling wanted. But I'm learning that you can't get this, I don't know if the word is validation, you can't receive your confidence from these outside opinions. It has to come from within. And so, but how, asking the question, how do you help people develop that when the world feels so suffocating and dark, and where there's just a tiny bit of light? How do you help? With Tanner, like, we were showing him love, but I don't know how his mind was working, but he wasn't feeling it. He was feeling like he was a burden. He was an outcast. He was the wrong. And so if people could just only have a change of perspective, if only if it were that easy, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
Well, and I think you bring a very interesting perspective into this from someone that hasn't been like treated or diagnosed with depression or have like deeply felt that, because I can see that struggle from the outside of you being like, I want to help so badly, right? And I love that you're a CNA. That's like such a great job for you to like connect and interact and be surrounded by so many people going through so many things. You are so great at that. You're so great at connecting and loving others. But yeah, like ha- having someone that has that challenge of being so deeply depressed and in a dark space, whether it is depression or another mental health diagnosis from the outside, it's like, what do I even do? Like,
Mhm.
that does feel very, very out of control. And so I can understand how maybe overwhelming or
Mhm.
how upsetting that could be to be like, I can't change anything because it's all in here for them,
Yes.
right?
I think first off, when you meet someone and they say, oh, an example, you have, oh, how many kids do you have? I have 5, or I have 6, and they start asking their ages, and then they'll say, yeah, one of them passed away. It's always touchy to ask, well, how did they pass away? I always ask, how did they pass away, because I like to know, and I like to let them know that they're not alone. I don't know if that helps. I don't know if that's selfish and saying, well, you're not. Here's my story. Here's your story, but here's my story. I don't know if it's selfish. It could be selfish, but I always ask, okay, well, how did they pass away? But if you do that, you you have to ask questions. Like, if you're gonna ask them how did they pass away and they're gonna say suicide, okay, first off, okay, this is what you don't do. Don't ask how they killed themselves, because that it just is
Great
like
advice.
that's awkward.
Yes.
I've had so many people who said, um, well, how did they kill themselves? And I'm like, well, yada yada.
Yeah.
If if they want to say, if they feel comfortable and they feel
Mm-hmm.
like it'll help you, then they'll say how they
Yeah.
died. Okay, so yeah, don't do that. But second off, if you're gonna ask like how did they die, and they say suicide, well, ask. You have to ask follow-up questions. You have to ask, like, okay, well, who was your son? Like, ask in a more pause. You can't. Don't have a look of disgust, or don't have a like a,
Yeah.
oh. You ask more questions. Like, ask, well, how long ago did they pass away? Or who were they? Like, who were they to you? What's your favorite memory about them? I'm so sorry.
I love
What's
that.
your favorite memory about them? You have to ask a follow up question or something. Okay, this is another thing I remember is there are so many people who say I want to kill myself after the most what is the word,
Like
minuscule,
minuscule, yeah,
I
thing.
dropped my food on the ground, I'm gonna kill myself, or I can't throw this ball, I'm gonna kill myself, like this, or it's so hot, I'm gonna kill myself. I hated hearing that phrase. That was actually very triggering. The first, it's actually still triggering, and it was very triggering
Mm-hmm.
for the first 5 years probably. Now it's I'm mad, and not like triggering, but it's like they're so inconsiderate, and that why would you ever, and now I'm judging you, like, why would you ever
Yes.
say that over the most
Yes. Yeah.
minuscule tiny thing? You don't kill
Yeah.
yourself over that.
Hayden, you have shared so much with us. Thank you for sharing so much with us and being so vulnerable and just educating people. Because I think a big myth that I I frequently want to debunk is so many people think that talking about suicide causes suicide. And that is so not
No,
true.
it's
Talking
not.
about suicide prevents so many more suicides from happening. And so I'm so grateful that you were willing to talk about this experience and just even being able to hear how you've been able to work through your experience the last 9 years already is going to bring so much hope to people. So thank you for bringing hope to people that are listening to this. But my last question for you that I
Mm-hmm.
ask every single guest is why are you choosing to stay? What is your why to living your life?
My why is kindness. I
Mm-hmm.
have this bracelet. It says Tanner Robinson, kindness is power. It's kind of worn out. But I wear it every day.
Yeah.
And so my why is to be kind, to show people kindness that people did not show to my brother.
Mm.
I I try so hard to be a positive influence to people around me,
Mm-hmm.
to my coworkers, to my patients, to my family members, because this world needs more positivity. And I know those who struggle with mental health, that is probably the hardest thing, to have in your
Mm-hmm.
mind, is to think positive, to have whatever positive means. Like it, it's being suffocated in this world.
Mm-hmm.
But I know who I am, and I know that I I can see the potential in people that sometimes it's hard to see in oneself.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to develop this confidence for ourselves, but it's you need to feel, you need validation from people, and you need
Absolutely.
to feel love and kindness and what's the word,
Genuine.
genuine.
Mm-hmm.
That is something I also truly strive to be, is genuine, because and just share the realness. And it's hard too when people don't show back to you, or when there is negativity, but kindness, positivity, that that's that's my why.
I love it, Peyton. That's perfect. I love that that is your why. And it is so important that people remember that you never know what someone is going through. All of us come from very different walks of life. All of us have our own struggles and challenges, and all of us are trying to just figure it out. We don't know what we're doing, right? Like,
No.
we're all just trying to figure it out along the way. And some people's challenges are so much deeper than what we realize, than what they show on the outside. So, thank you so much for sharing your why. I love that it is kindness. And as always with these podcasts, I will have the suicide hotline linked below, and I'll have a ton of suicide resources as well. So if you need to reach out, please reach out, and someone is here to help you. So thank you, Peyton. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Bailey.
You're awesome.
You
So
too, girl.
thanks.